What up? So I wanted to talk about '80s basketball. My take on basketball between the '80s, '90s, and today. My thing is after watching the 30 for 30 with the Lakers and Celtics, and all the talk with LeBron, Jordan, Kobe, all this, I really think '80s basketball might have been the best era of basketball. The reason I think so is just probably the level of competition, not as far as talent. I think today is more talent, but I think in the '80s it was just like far more competitive. Like people actually played hard all game, and cats that didn't have the talent still worked. Like today, I think over the years, AAU basketball, things like that, has made people prima donnas to where they feel they can let their talent take over and not have to work as much. Um, when you look at cats like Kurt Rambis, things like people like that, like he made a name for himself just off being a hard worker. Like me and one of my boys always had a joke that every time you saw Kurt Rambis go to the basket, he hit the floor. Like, and sometimes he might not even got hit. He just hit the floor because he just played so hard. And so that's why I think the '80s is kind of like the best era. Like it was crazy because like when you look at the foul, people be like, oh, they played so hard. I mean, every game wasn't like that. But when you did see stuff like, I mean, it was like WWF. Like people was getting clothesline, knocked into the crowd, like crazy shit. And you had to go through that. But like I said, to me, the talent wasn't the same. Like nowadays, I think there's a lot more talented players. Like with overall skill level, their talents are better. But back then, they were fundamental and played hard. So it was just a totally different vibe. And then you had Magic, you had Bird, you had Dr. J. Like those three were like big names. You even had the old Kareem. Like so, I really think the '80s was the best at the as far as the actual era. Like with the '90s, I mean, you had one person dominate the entire '90s, which was kind of like it's cool, but I mean, honestly, to me, Michael Jordan in his era, the wing position wasn't that great. It wasn't a whole bunch of talent. Like some people are like, "Oh, you're crazy," and like I broke this down because somebody made a meme talking about, oh, Jordan had to go against Tim Hardaway in the playoffs, but you worried about people going against like LeBron going against Lowry, but their averages were like almost the same. And so people are like, oh, well, you can't compare it because he had to work harder for his and it was a different thing. To me, you compare it by your production. Like people always want to say you can't count stats, but stats are production. It's what you do. And so in his era, he produces the same as Tim Hardaway produced. So you can't really discredit him for what he's doing and say Hardaway was that much better. Like Hardaway produced that way in his era, and he produces this way, and their numbers are almost identical. So Kyle Lowry is Tim Hardaway. Like, and it's funny though, because in the '90s, like I was looking it up, the point guard position was stacked. Almost every team had a legit point guard, but at the same time, the point guards in the '90s were actually point guards. Like they ran the team, they passed. It was a lot different then. Like now, as a point guard, you better be able to score. They don't really look to set people up anymore. That's a rare thing, and it's funny because you think about people like Kendall Marshall, who came out of North Carolina, and like I loved watching him. I'm a real fundamental player, and like seeing him pass the ball up court for the assist, things like that. Like I just knew in the NBA he would like thrive, but he just never did, and that's probably because you're not. It's different. Even if you think you're about to set somebody up in the NBA, they're probably gonna step back and then take a couple dribbles, try to go by somebody. It's like I said, the AAU ball type stuff. And as far as that goes, I really think Allen Iverson is the reason that the whole point guard position changed. Once he came out, I think everybody wanted to emulate his game. So guards became more, oh, let me go one on one and break somebody down. And that changed the whole point guard position from that point on. Like that's why there's very few people anymore who actually look to set up people like a Rondo did. Like Rondo was amazing at point guard. He was a great point guard. CP3 is one of the few that's left that do that. And yeah, I mean that's my take on things. Though I do think the '80s era was probably the best era we had overall. What are your thoughts? Let me know.